Vulnerability fosters good emotions and mental health. Vulnerability also is a sign of courage. We become more resilient and brave when we embrace who we truly are and what we are feeling. The Vulnerable Scientist podcast is a space for scientists who are honest and authentic or are working towards it. Join the vulnerable space by either sending an audio using the link on the show notes talking about your highs and lows as a scientist, or by contacting Sarah Nyakeri, aka New Biochemist, to schedule a chat. The Vulnerable Scientist podcast benefits both the listener and the one sharing. You can now rate this podcast on Spotify or put a review on Apple Podcasts or any other listening platform with a rating button. And to share your thoughts, feel free to send an audio message using the audio link, either using your name or anonymously, to be published on the following episodes of the Vulnerable Scientist podcasts. Are you wondering what I use to upload and store my website spaces? Host Pinnacle. I've been using it for over 2 years right now and it has never disappointed me. So host your website today using Host Pinnacle, cheap and affordable and reliable services. To start experiencing Host Pinnacle goodness, click on the link on the show notes and you will not regret your decision.
...2021, I'm used. I was like, now I'm used to it. Because 2020 was like, good. 1 full year staying in Kenya. That was 2020. 2021, I'm used to Kenya. So I had to plan my life properly. I remember one of the things that I did in research was to participate in the Capacity Development Grand Challenge in March. Presented the aim for the Grand Challenge. Why that program came into place was because we are living in a society whereby, as scientists, we're producing results for the society to use, whether it's a vaccine, whether it's a new breed, whether it's a policy at the end of the day. So there are categories of people that we're aiming to reach for our research to make impact. For example, policy makers. Those people are not in our field. They just know, most of them are politicians. And even the people who are addressing local farmers, they don't know this science. They just want results on the ground. So it was meant to help us present our work in such a way that it's understood by the audience, different audiences. Yeah. And to be honest, it was quite a hectic moment, especially when you're preparing, even when you're presenting, because it was, the adrenaline is up. I remember this year, that year when we were 42, we were told during the first cohort in 2019, there were very few. Yeah, but for us, we were 42, and the positions were very few, winning positions. So you had to compete and be one of the best. Yeah. Yeah, so the winning itself was exciting, yes. But the impact it made was the biggest, because I can relate that when I was presenting my proposal in JKUAT, much of the phage technology terms that I was using made some people not understand what I was doing. I had very few questions, actually. And the questions were coming like people have not really understood. Maybe they've only gotten the salmonella part. The questions were coming from these areas. Like, okay, this thing looks like a problem in Kenya. How about Malawi? How about where you're coming from? Those types of questions. But not necessarily the content itself. But when I was presenting the progress in JKUAT, I used the simple English, simple phrases, not even those jargons at all. And people really understood. And the questions I was getting showed that people really understood what I was doing. So I can relate the difference when I was presenting my proposal and the progress because of the Grand Challenge. Yeah. So after winning the Grand Challenge, well, I had to take a break and relax myself.
Wait, what is this Grand Challenge for someone who might not understand? Where is it?
Okay, so it's in full is called IRI Capacity Development Grant Challenge. It's okay. The Grand Challenge is okay. The name itself, Grand Challenge, is something coming like a competition, something like that. So what normally happens is the research that you're doing as a fellow or a staff or a research associate, the research you're doing, you have to phrase it you have to explain it in 3 minutes what you're doing, but not compromising the content of your work. But explain it in as simple language as possible so that anyone else can understand, not using your terms. So I come here and study CRISPR mediated, metamo, what. People will not get, those are terms for my field. People will not understand, but let me use the simplest language. Let's say I'm here to improve the vaccine. Anyone else can understand that, okay, the vaccine is there, so you are improving it. You're supposed to explain your research work in as simple English as possible in 3 minutes. Just only 3 minutes. Yeah. So the process starts by, first of all, you register. Then you send a video, a clip of 3 minutes. Yeah. And then it is sent to a panel of judges. So they just have an idea of what they're dealing with. And then it comes a day whereby you present to them live in 3 minutes. And then they ask you questions. The question session doesn't matter. It may take 10 minutes depending on how they understand your work. But now the panel involves people from policy, someone from a journalist, someone from a funder, and government. Yeah. So you have to explain it in 3 minutes. Yeah. In a simple language, but not compromising the nature of your project. Because you may end up formulating something else that is totally different from what you're doing. Yes.
Wait. So would you want to explain your project in simple terms?
Oh, yeah. In simple terms. All right.
Because we mentioned pages, so much we wondering, what are those?
Oh, yeah. So what I'm doing in Erie. All right. So first of all, let me begin by saying we are facing a crisis at the moment. Apart from COVID and COVID, which is a pandemic, HIV, which is a pandemic, we are facing another problem. We are calling it a silent pandemic. The problem is antimicrobial resistance. What is it? Both in animals and humans, even plants. You know, when someone is sick, we use drugs. Animal is sick, we use drugs. So it has come a time whereby, because we are misusing most of these drugs and sometimes overusing. Misusing meaning you are not yet diagnosed that you are malaria. You just feel like, I think this is malaria, you are taking malaria. Are you sure it's malaria? That is misuse. Overuse, or another misuse can be you are diagnosed that you have malaria and you're told to take 2 tablets at a time. You're taking 1. That's also another misuse, because you are underusing it.
Yeah, and you're giving the thing a chance
to resist it. Yeah. Now, when another problem is particularly in agriculture, on the same misuse.
Okay.
When we are raising chickens, we are raising with the cattle, there's this common practice of just assuming, okay, I want my chickens to grow very well. They don't have to suffer from anything. People mix antibiotics and feed and give them together with a mentality of saying, any disease that is in there that I don't know has to go away. You see? So that kind of mentality, you find that you are giving antibiotics of something that so the pathogens that are already in there, that maybe they are something else, because of this, you find that there's been now the rising. Most of the pathogens now are resisting because of this misuse and overuse of antibiotics. Another overuse in the human beings is the dosages today, and you keep on getting drugs. That's another overuse. So it can be, you can call it in a different way: misuse, underuse, overuse, as long as it's not in the proper form. Yeah. That one has now resulted in antimicrobial resistance. And to be honest, right now, as we're talking now, this 2022, the research that was done in 2020 and 2021 resulted that we have more deaths that are due to deaths in human beings that are due to antimicrobial resistance than HIV.
Wow.
Yeah. The paper is out and it's all over. It's all over now. Like by Lancet.
Antimicrobial resistance.
So Antimicrobial resistance is the inability of drugs working on a pathogen, or the ability of a pathogen resisting drugs. That's why it is called antimicrobial. Microbial is that pathogen, and anti is something which is against it. Yeah. Resistance, that is resisting. Yeah. So antimicrobial resistance, meaning the resistance to drugs. By what? By these pathogens.
So you find yourself, you're not getting better.
You're not getting better, or you're taking drugs. What is happening? Because there was a time you thought like you're suffering from this disease, but you were taking drugs you're just taking drugs. Maybe you're suffering from something else. When that disease really comes into play, you find that it has developed resistance against this drug, and you're not. Yeah. So in animals, again, it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do? We have this problem here. Antimicrobial resistance is here. So there are many things that are happening. I'll talk about the pillars of what it is doing and explain my project now. One of the things that is happening currently is studies on surveillance. We want to see the extent. What extent has this thing gone? And the like. Number 2 is we have this problem. What do we intervene? Yeah? So my project is coming in as one of the interventions. We have this MRI. What do we do? So there are several things that have been proposed by scientists. One of them is let's do away with antibiotics and come up with vaccines. So we find a lot of bacterial vaccines being produced right now, being researched upon. Number 2, probiotics. There are other probiotics that you can use that can help to protect you from diseases.
What are probiotics?
Okay, so sorry. Yeah, so you are using another organism to compete with that pathogenic organism in your body. So this organism is not harmful to you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it inside your body, it will be competing for resources. So this one automatically it will be defeated because this one is something which has been processed. So it's processed in such a way that it will compete and dominate that environment.
So
that is
pathogenic one will die.
Will die because there's a lot of competition. This one is producing a lot of toxins as well that is affecting this. Yeah. So that is one of them. The third one is let's use alternatives. This thing, we have antibiotics. We shouldn't stop using antibiotics. But now these ones which are drug resistant, these ones, let's use an alternative to kill it. And one of them is an ancient cure. We call it an ancient cure because it was discovered way before antibiotics were discovered. Yeah. So they are called bacteriophages. Bacteriophages, to break it down, there's a bacteria in that name and a phage. A phage is a word for, it's a Latin word for virus, meaning these are viruses that attack bacteria. I have to mention that everything in the world has a virus. Human beings have viruses that attack them. Plants have. Even worms, they have viruses that attack worms. Bacteria as well have viruses that attack them. Bacteria are the smallest form of life. Not life, smallest form entities on Earth or in the universe. Yeah. So they were discovered way time before the discovery of antibiotics. But they were abandoned later on because one, being a virus, people are afraid. 2, they were not able to kill a lot of things at once. They are highly specific. They only kill one. Yeah. So people.
So it is an advantage and a
disadvantage. So by then they were abandoned because of it was not curing several things. It's highly targetive, and becoming of antibiotics, which when you just take one, it cures maybe 5 antibiotics at once. 5 diseases at once. So it was abandoned later on. Actually, yeah. So now we are bringing in phages as well because of these problems. How do they work?
The phages now, the
bacteriophages now.
The viruses that kill bacteria.
Yeah. So that's where my research is coming in. So my research is basically using these viruses to treat the drug-resistant bacteria. That's where my research is based. Yeah. This is now the overall project which I'm into. Of course, my part basically within this, I will explain my actual part. But the overall project is this one. We're using phages, which are viruses that are targeting bacteria to treat the drug-resistant pathogens. Yeah. So the good thing is, like, they're easy to produce. If you compare now with antibiotics now, they're easy to produce. You're looking at the time frame of discovery. For you to come up with a single antibiotic, it takes years. And two, it's expensive to come out. Whereas phages are just in the environment. They're everywhere, actually. You sow it from the environment, purify them, and then within months. Remember when the project started in 2019. By 2020, we had junks and the junks of these viruses in our stocks. You see, we had more than 600 by 2020 in a very short time. Yeah, that were already pure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so
it's very easy.
It's very easy to work with. So that's where my project is. So when I was explaining this, I have to mention again the advantage of grain challenge. When I was explaining about this, when I was doing the proposal, I was an amateur coming from undergraduate. I'm not so much deep into research. Just explaining the way the terms are. Bacteriophages, blah, 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 and all these terms that we use in phages. Lytic, lysogenic capacity. What? Yeah, but no people, most of them didn't get it. But I had to go, like I'm teaching a baby in the introduction section. What are these? When were they discovered? What are they? How do they work? So the way they work is the way simple, even the way HIV works, even a virus they work. A virus, what it does, it attaches to the host. A host meaning that thing it is attacking. It inserts its, like, what they say, it's genetic material inside. So when it inserts the genetic material inside, it makes copies of itself. Millions and millions. And burst this cell. This is how the virus works. And this is the phenomenon we're using for this. So what we are doing, basically, we are using giving, let's say, animals or human being, depending on where the disease is. This, and then they kill the bacteria. So within this project, where my part is coming, my part is I'm designing what we can call it a delivery system. How do we give these things now, either to chickens, or because the project is targeting only poultry, chickens, but you can apply it in any other host.
Yes, including humans.
And diseases are different. There are diseases that are affecting respiratory, like COVID. There are diseases that you only show as diarrhea, like salmonella. There are diseases that will show like malaria. They're in the systematic. Yeah? So a delivery system of any virus, or not a virus, of any medicine or a vaccine, depends on the nature of the disease. Yeah? So in my case, I'm dealing with a salmonella. Salmonella, you will find it in the small intestines. So the root there will be oral. Oral. So being oral, we know we're going to give orally, so that those phages, they go to the small intestines and they eliminate all the bacteria in there. But there's several things we need to consider. So we go back now to vet school. The knowledge that I gained in vet school. Anatomy of a chicken. From up here, up to the small intestine, there are a lot of things in between here that will affect the viruses. Number one, there's peristalsis, continuous movement of the intestine. If there's that continuous movement, some of them might get stuck in the muscular area. There's a lot of mucus along the way, they will get stuck. So not everything will reach them. So suppose you give a dose, let's say 2 ml, of the virus. The concentration may be 200 milligrams per ml or something like that. Maybe quarter of that might reach the small intestines.
Which is very low.
That's number one. Number two, there's the stomach down here. In the chicken with a true stomach is called the proventriculus. I'll just remind you that in animals, that is the funny things we learned in school. The animal has, some animals have 4 stomachs. Others have 2.
Okay.
Even hearts, some have 3-chambered heart. A human being has 4. Like a tortoise has a 3-chamber heart. So for a chicken, it has a section, you create a globe up here. This section it will just help in grinding. There's a lot of sand-like things inside that will help in grinding. Chicken when it eats grains, it will help in grinding. After that, now it will go down. Now when it reaches there's that section called the true stomach, there's acids which are released there. Even a human being in your stomach, the hydrochloric acid is released to help in breaking down the food At the same time, there are enzymes there that help in breaking down food. So a virus, like another virus, phages, they also get inactivated in the presence of an acid. That is another thing you need to note. 3, enzymes. Not only pepsin, which is in the stomach. There are some intestinal enzymes as well that may break down the virus. I have to tell you that a virus is just a coat and the genetic material inside. It's proteins all over. So a protein is denatured whenever it meets an acid. And also temperatures. Higher temperatures can break it down. So those are the things that need to be considered when you're coming up with a delivery mechanism. So looking at this, my area now is to design how best do we deliver. So the first thing that I did was to test first of all these viruses. They survive better at what pH? I just know. They survive better at what temperature? Which temperatures are worse than them? Because the body temperature of a chicken is different from a human being. For human being, it says 37. Is it 37? For a chicken, it's 42. Actually, it's a range 40.1 to 42.3, somewhere there. And 41.9, somewhere there. So it's a range. For human being, it's a bit lower. So those things are you need to play. So after testing, what I did next was now to use what we call encapsulation materials. So this is now another field, nanotechnology, should we say so. So in nanotechnology, we are using very tiny materials to help us in day-to-day life. One of the nanoparticles are called nanovesicles. Like in our case here, we're using silica vesicles. These vesicles are designed so that we load phages inside. They help protect the phages from the acids and the higher different fluctuating temperatures. So they are designed in such a way that they open up when there's a change in pH. So when they are swallowed by the chicken, the first pH they are going to meet is pH 2, which is of the stomach. Extremely harsh, very low, like 2. When now it is moving from the stomach to the intestine, the pH starts changing. It's getting high. With that change, then they open up. And the good thing, we're targeting small intestines because that's where our salmonella is. And they open up. So all the phages will be distributed in the small intestines in huge quantities. So we tested this technology in vitro. In vitro meaning outside. We were using some materials that mimic the stomach environment, intestinal environment. And we tested. Some of the phages were better, others were worse. Now, we have been given an approval. Now we're going to test it now in the chicken now to see the little ground. How are they going to behave? So we'll be using both encapsulated and non to see. Because some phages, you find that in low pH on their own, in vitro outside the animal, they behaved poorly. They will behave the opposite in the animal. So we're going to do that.
So we can't translate everything.
So we're just going to take whatever we did in vitro to see what will happen now inside the animal. So that's what we are doing. So at the end of the day, what problem are we solving? We are dealing with antimicrobial resistance. That's why this technology came in. But now through the course, I must say that I've learned a lot of things. Phages can not only be used as now treatment. We can also use them in vaccines. There's now technologies going high. Being a virus that is a coat, you can just take your antigenic or maybe the thing that you want to put to come up with a vaccine inside it, and it is expressed on the surface. That is a perfect vaccine. And you inject. So coming back to the study, so what I'm dealing with is a gastrointestinal delivery system. So when I'm dealing with a phage that is targeting any systematic problem, maybe a systematic bacteria, they'll be injected. So I need to think of things like antibodies. So, the body will see those things as so strangers and will send antibodies to neutralize them. So you need to also deal with that. Respiratory, again, there's an immune system here. If you're dealing with phages for mycoplasma, the area you are into. There are phages for mycoplasma, by the way. So if you're dealing with here, you will use a different way of giving them, either an inhaler, And then when they get in, there are also regional or cells they were to deal with those things. They can get trapped and neutralized. So you also need to look into that one. Yeah. So there are a lot of things that you're doing. Yeah, you need to look into.
That's exciting research.
It's really very exciting, and even myself, whenever I'm explaining about it now, I feel happy because I love it. Yeah, it's something that is so unique. Yeah, I'm combining knowledge that I learned in veterinary. Now look where I'm coming from. I did veterinary medicine. What I told myself that I want to use that knowledge into research now. It's the knowledge I'm using now. I remember when I was presenting this week last year, we had a small catch-up with fellows, other students in Erie. It was organized by Ashini. I was presenting it when I was in Malawi during holiday. And where I was at that same friend's place where I was staying before he still stays there. I was at his place. So he was seated there as I was presenting on the computer. He heard the way I was connecting my anatomy in class, physiology with what I'm doing here. I was like, hey man, you're really doing exciting work. Yeah, because it's really connecting well with what I'm doing. And anyone else can understand, oh yeah, this is really making sense. You really need to deal with this. It's quite exciting. It's not something like you are very tiny things that you can't understand. No, it's something that you can easily understand. This whole chicken, or you, a human being, if you're designing phages for human being that are targeting large intestines, you're not going to inject. It's all. Okay. From here all the way to small intestines or large intestines, it's a very long journey. Very long journey. It takes like 8 hours for food to move all the way to be processed. 8 hours. Yeah, 5 to 8 hours. Depending on, now I'm a vet now, depending on which animal. Some animals are shorter, some takes 3 hours, others 5 hours. I do, what we did was comparative anatomy. So we started comparing, human being, there is this in this one. Yeah. So depending on which host you're doing. So you need to think of all those things. So my task in the fellowship was to design that delivery system.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's really an awesome area.
So
yeah. So
you're saying about what you did after you won the.
Oh yeah. So after the grand challenge, oh my dear, that was. I remember when the results were coming, when they were announcing the winners, I was in the lab with Linda and Josiah. I remember my laptop was in the office. I didn't go with my laptop to the lab. I was processing some footage, so I left my laptop. So I was using Linda's. We logged into Linda's computer and we were listening. And then there was a speech by I remember that was, out of the whole ERE actually attended that. And then, Wellington made a speech. To Neka, the head of capacity development unit. And then the chief judge, during that time when we were presenting, made the speech, the opening remarks, and started announcing winners. Overall winner, number 2, number 3, started announcing categories. My category was the last. So when the names were coming, I'm seeing some friends there being announced. Oh my God. Mine didn't. So Linda was telling me, don't worry, even if you don't win, but you did it. Yeah, you participated and you have gained a lot. And mind you, after presenting, that's when we started now 10 months of training in different skills, how to write a pod, or how to write a blog, a lot of things, research, and a lot of things. So when the names were coming out, they reached now the junior science category. My name came up, almost like a mon. I have that presentation where the names were, it was how they were announcing, they were using slides. So one slide, your name, position, and which category. When it came, I remember that picture was taken in the info center, the library for Erie. Yeah, and it's on my computer. I like that picture. Junior science category. Amos Mhone. The way I jumped in the lab. I was so super excited, and on my phone, congratulations are coming left, right, center. Colleagues, hey, congrats. My boss was so happy. We did a small celebration in the evening about it. But that was not the real show. No. The real show was now, it was close to Easter, I remember. We did in March. So in April, started the training. So in April, that's when Easter is, in April, right?
Yeah.
April, yeah. So we're giving the cash prizes. So the overall winner was given 100,000 Kenyan shillings. The second was 75, and then us in categories, all of us were given 50,000. So Plus, yeah, so I had to arrange for a holiday for myself to go and relax. Yeah, now this was not motivated only by the Grand Church, but also the plan I made from 2020 that I think traveling makes me learn a lot from what I learned in Mombasa. Let me go another place that I've not known in Kenya. But I just know it, but I don't know where it is. I just heard about it. One of the places that I've always wanted to go in my life since secondary school in geography is Lake Victoria. I wanted to see Lake Victoria because we just learned in geography that it's a basin lake. It's found between 3 countries, shared in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. I wanted to see it with my eyes. Where is it? Yeah, so I was like, let me go Lake Victoria. I planned to go to Lake Victoria. So I planned for a trip. Fortunately, Kenya Airways, that time, there were a lot of promotions happening that time, so the flights were cheap. I had to plan for a holiday. I told you I'm good at planning. I planned all the taxes on the ground, where I'm going to stay, with the places I'm going to visit. Of course, you put in some contingency in case another place comes up that is interesting in the head over there. Yeah, so I took off before that weekend of Easter. It was on Thursday, actually. Friday, holiday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I came back on Tuesday as well. So when I reached there, I was based at Milimani Beach Lodge. Oh, damn. Oh, it was wonderful. When I reached Kisumu, even from when the plane was descending to Kisumu Airport, I could see Lake Victoria. So beautiful. Wow, this is nice. I was picked from the airport by the hotel guys. I went to the beach lodge. That first day, I had planned that I would do 3 activities. In the morning, I'll go to the Impala Center. It's a park. I'll go to the museum and boat riding in the afternoon. So I did these 2 in the morning. So I arrived in the morning. The plane was 6 o'clock. It's only 30 minutes flight from Nairobi to Kisumu. By 7 o'clock, I was in Kisumu. I took breakfast. Then the driver came to pick me. Went to Impala Center. I saw there a cheetah. I was all over on Instagram, talking, and yeah, it was really wonderful. Then I went to the museum in town. I saw the aquarium. They have very beautiful fish there. Aquarium, history of Swahili. At the museum, the history of Luo people. Yeah, they even danced for me. There was a dance there. Said as visitors sit there, we're going to dance. There was a group of dancers. Then I saw snakes, different species of snakes. Some of them, I just learned them in class because we also did exotic medicine. So snakes are part of that. Yeah, so I just learned them in class. So which I saw them in Kisumu. In the afternoon, I was back at the hotel, took lunch, went boat riding on Lake Victoria. Oh my God, I went live on Facebook. Guys, I'm on top of the boat. I remember that video. It is on my Instagram. So that boat, I was alone actually with the driver of the boat. I'm told that time when I was booking, there was no one else who booked, so I was alone. So I went, placed some chairs on top. Yeah, so I put my life jacket, red actually, and then I was on top there taking selfies. We went to an island, 3 islands inside Lake Victoria. Showed me around, so beautiful islands, trees. There are reserves. No one was allowed to build there, so they just reserves trees and places where people sit. Yeah. And came back that evening. The following day, I went to Kitimikai, the historical rock site. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, man. That place is amazing. The 3rd day, I went to Maseno. I was told there's a place where equator passes, so they placed a bow. I wanted to see that place. Yeah, because I saw it on the internet some time back. So I wanted to see where the equator passes. I was there and was like, wow, I've seen where the equator passes here in Kenya. Wow, it's amazing. Yeah, from there I visited Kisumu City, some higher grounds where you would see the city so beautiful. Until the last day, then I came back. So, of course, I had other plans like 2021. I wanted to go to Casablanca in Morocco. and Dubai. But now, because of the COVID, countries were changing regulations here and then, so I had to postpone. Probably this year I'm planning to go to one of those countries as well.
That's nice. It's good to travel.
Yeah, so 2021, I should say, has been so exciting, to be honest, has been so exciting. Apart from that, so I came back and then continued with my research work. Yeah, I really advanced so much in research work. I really advanced so much 2021. Yeah, sure. So it has been just exciting. No major thing happened that year, only that there are a lot of lessons that I've learned in the process. And then, yeah, so very exciting, to be honest. So, no, coming this year, I should say I'm still on the same trail on finishing up my research project, and this year, if God allows, I'll be heading for PhD. And one thing I've learned, like last year and this year, is that when you shape your life, but keep on exploring other areas as well. Yeah, so far I got interested in a number of things. I have a friend who is in auditing. My neighbor was an auditor. Yeah, she taught me a lot about auditing, what they do in auditing, what. Yeah, so I also learned a lot about that. I have a friend who is doing things like in blockchain technology, because that's where the world is going now. Yeah, so I just got curious about those, just learning, and then bioinformatics as well. Bioinformatics, that is now the use of technology that is computer-based softwares to analyze those genetic materials, of different pathogens, for us to know that this is a drug-resistant pathogen or bacteria. We have to look at the genetic material, because genetic material is what makes up you and me. Our DNA, we call it DNA, has the information about us. For almost to look like this, it's in my DNA. Yeah? For salad to look like that, it's DNA. For bacteria to exist, it's the DNA. So for us to know that this one has changed here, it's the same DNA to tell us that here. So that, how do you analyze that? You use a system called the bioinformatics. Informatics is information, but it's biological information using technology. So you are using technology to analyze different biological systems. Yeah, so that is another area that I've gotten interest into. Yeah, the other things that are upcoming, but also gotten interest, but maybe they've been influenced due to my time, over time. I remember when I just finished my Form 4, when I was waiting for the exams to be out, I volunteered for an organization. It was dealing with climate change in Urumpi, actually. So we're planting trees, what. Now the issues of climate change are hot because of the time. And one of the things that is maybe attached to my field is climate smart livestock. Climate smart livestock, meaning we want our livestock systems also to contribute to reduction or mitigation of climate change. How do we do that? One of the problems is greenhouse gases, methane. Yeah, methane is also produced by livestock, cattle. When they digest whatever, there is also gas, methane. So a methane is quite dangerous, as in it goes up in the atmosphere. There's a layer called ozone that reduces the rays of the sun hitting us down here. Because if the rays were to come directly, you have cancer all over, because the skin it will be affected by the too much UV rays from the sun. So there's an ozone layer that is protecting us. So that layer is being eaten up. It has holes now because of that. These greenhouse gases, methane is one of them. So what we are targeting is that our livestock production also has to be addressing climate change. So there have been several suggestions, like there's bracharia, which is one of the grass that is being used as feed. Yeah? The one which is being has been designed, or it's not designed, improved in such a way that when animals use that grass, nutrition-wise, perfect, but methane production, low. So that's one of them. That's now climate smart livestock. And also the other thing, dumping of manure. manure has to be properly dumped, not just in an open space, because a lot of methane is going to come. You can take that manure and maybe trap out methane, because methane gas can be used for cooking, like what we're using is methane gas, the biogas. So those are the other things that so I've also gotten interest in that because it's attached to my field as livestock. Those are the things. So I've been learning, advancing my knowledge over those things while my stay in Erie. Even at the moment, I'm still learning a lot. Not only that, even the policy. You find that policy makes a big influence. One of the attachments that I did when I was still undergraduate, I did an attachment with the board that regulates medicines in Malawi. And that time, remember, we were very few vets, and the regulation was mostly on the human side. So they really wanted students to be working on the veterinary drug regulation. So it was one of the intents that helped in reviewing the act and regulations for that.
Oh, nice.
So now I've also developed interest in those policies. They also make an impact. We may not only focus on science, but also look at the policy that is regulating these things. And then I'll see where you can improve. So here I am as a scientist. And to be honest, I've not reached where I wanted to reach. I am going there. Because, like I told you from the beginning, my target is to become a scientist and get established in my country, because my country has a lot of gray areas to be worked upon. I'm here in Erie, advancing the career, and from here I'll go to PhD or do something else. But the target at the end of the day is to reach that full scientist capacity that I can help the people on the ground back home. Because at the end of the day, my country is on my heart. I love Kenya, I love elsewhere I can live. But where I'm coming from, they also need to benefit. By the government initiative to come up with that school, there's a lot of problems on the ground. So as a first product of that school, I need to make an impact on the ground. And I feel like I've not made much, because soon after graduating, I was here. Even before graduating, I studied my master's before graduating. And for your information, I didn't participate in my graduation. I was here writing exams for my first semester. The graduation was in December 2019. And I was told that JKUAT has, Jomo Kenyatta University of Education and Technology, rules are that you can only miss 2 exams when there's a funeral or you're sick. Not these other occasions, a wedding, what. If you miss more than 2, you have to repeat 1 more year. And that week where there was graduation back home, there were 5 exams which I was supposed to write. So I cannot miss 5 exams. And also graduation, you need like 3-4 days. You go for rehearsals, you get the gown, and then the graduation. For sure, I was going to miss like 3-4 days. So I missed the undergraduate graduation, but I'm sure I will do this one. But not that didn't matter to me, because I already had gotten the paper. I'm on a better position, so it didn't really matter. But what matters at the end of the day is that after I'm I'm fully baked as a scientist now, let me go back home and do it from there, and help the local people, mentor. Right now I'm still mentoring. I should tell you that I'm a role model in my area, especially Rumbi, because I'm coming from an area where there are very few people who have made it to universities. To be honest, very few people. And in that area, I hope, I may not talk to them directly, but looking at me where I've reached now, when I go back home, people really ask questions. Remember, there was a time whereby even my own parents were not happy with the degree. Why would you choose veterinary medicine? But look at where it has taken me. And it is taking me far. So just this journey shows that there is somewhere I'm going, and I'm really mentoring others. So it has been an interesting journey, and it is still an interesting journey. Sure.
Do you want to start your own podcast? Start with some simple gear that you already have and a quiet space. Simple gear includes a microphone, editing software, and host of your podcast. Simple microphones include the ones on your phones and computers, or a simple recorder, which you can upgrade later. For the editing software, I use Audacity, which is free and simple to use. Buzzsprout, which over 1,000 other fellow podcasters like me use, is one of the podcast hosting providers you can use. Buzzsprout has helped me link my show on every major podcast platform. With the endless number and regularly updated tutorials and good customer service support Buzzsprout offers, my podcasting journey has been made easy. Following the link in the show notes, let Buzzsprout know we sent you, gets you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, and helps support our show.